And welcome back to Hannity. So earlier this month, when details from Gary Burns' tell-all book began coming out, well, the Clinton campaign, they went on the offensive, releasing a short statement saying, quote, Gary Burns joins the ranks of Ed Klein and other authors in this latest in a long line of books attempting to cash in on the election cycle with their nonsense. Now, it should be put in the fantasy section of the bookstore. We continue now with the author of the book. Crisis of Character, a White House Secret Service officer discloses his firsthand experience with Hillary, Bill, and how they operate. Former Secret Service officer Gary Burns, 30 years of service, your book isn't even out, and they smear you.
Yes.
So now that it's out, I guess they'll really start smearing you.
Yes, I believe that is going to happen.
You know, you tell those stories, go to hell, she would say to officers, go F yourself.
Yes.
Throwing a Bible at an officer.
And an agent, yeah.
And even you're saying you lashing out at many agents.
Sure, and officers.
And now trying to smear a 30-year stellar reputation.
Yeah.
What's your reaction to that?
Well, my reaction is I'm an Air Force veteran. I spent 25 years in the federal law enforcement protecting them, and I realized they're bent out of shape about me coming out and telling the truth, but it is the truth. It's the story of my life, and they just happen to intersect it. And as I mentioned before, the reason I'm doing it...
So you expected this?
I did. I'm prepared for it. Yeah. I don't like it, but it is what it is. And when I decided to come forward and tell my story, I knew I'd be
You expected it because you know them.
I do. I know them well.
You said she berated, meaning Hillary, Vince Foster till he could stand no more.
Right.
That implies that she drove him. In part.
You know, nobody knows why somebody takes their own life. But I can tell you, when I met Vince Foster in the White House and I saw him walk around, I never saw anybody that didn't want to be there more than he didn't want to be there. He looked so uncomfortable. And there were many incidences or stories where the staff would hear her berating Vince, and she blamed him publicly for some of the things that they didn't get done. And as a lot of people know, in his suicide note, he basically said that, you know, that Washington, D.C. was this terrible, vindictive place, and it was one of the reasons he took his own life. Yeah. I mean, it's a terrible thing. I didn't know him well, but I was very sad when he did take his life, but I was not surprised.
You found Bill Clinton, in spite of all his infidelities, a nicer person.
He is, yeah. He's very...
would want to give people their time and do and be polite, and was like that more in real life.
He was. He'd look you right in the eye. He'd talk to people. Yeah. He was very kind. I actually got to introduce my parents to him one time, and they remembered it forever.
You knew about many affairs. We don't know about all of them, do we?
No, and I don't know about all of them. I just certainly know about...
But this is the Oval Office. This is the President of the United States. Isn't that a national security threat?
Yeah, I would think it is. I mean, my question was at the time when I was being forced to testify and being...
And you didn't want to testify?
No, I never wanted to talk about this at all. Never. And I know that sounds silly now because I'm coming out, but clearly I've walked through some door where I think it's time and it's important to do.
How many women do you know for sure he had affairs with in the Oval Office?
In the White House complex, we'll say, I'd say easily 3, maybe 4 that I know of.
And you saw Monica Lewinsky a mile away?
Sure.
You knew she wanted to be near him?
She was certainly manipulating some of the staff, myself, other officers and agents to find out where the president was. So
she wasn't manipulating if you saw through it.
Well, yeah, I agree, but I mean, I saw through it right away. She was trying to place herself in his path when he would move around the complex.
Now, you never actually saw them together?
No. Well, not alone.
Not alone. All right, but you did see, you walked into the map room, I believe, and you did see...
Actually, I'm sorry, that's not correct. I did see them alone.
You did see them alone?
Yes.
And what did you see?
Well, there was an incident one time where during their affair, she showed up on a Saturday to... said she had to deliver something to the president.
Was that the Saturday?
Yes.
During the shutdown?
No, this was before that.
Okay.
I mean, I'm sorry, this was after that. This was after that, and she showed up on a Saturday under the pretense of delivering some newspapers or something, which she already had copies of. The staff wasn't in yet because it was Saturday.
Right.
And so I blew her off. I told her to leave, and about 5 minutes later, the Oval Office door opened up, and the president said...
somebody come by?
Yeah, somebody tried to deliver something to me, and I looked at the agent, and he's like... And after the president closed the door, he said, I told you, Gary, stay out of it. Don't stop trying to stop her. You know, you don't know what goes on out on the road. So
out on the road. So in other words, he was telling you that this is nothing.
Right. That was yes, exactly. That's what he was telling me.
So you knew that something was going on there, but you actually walked into the map room and saw the president with former presidential candidate, Vice President Mondale, And
with
his daughter.
Yeah, with his daughter. Yeah, so I stopped by on the way from the East Wing to the West Wing to say hi to a friend, and one of the Navy stewards walked up with a shirt for the president, and the president was waiting in the map room for him, and the steward opened the door to walk in the map room, and he was looking back at us and not into the room. And when he opened the door, the president was standing there with Eleanor Mondale, and they were like teenagers, you know, standing up, locked, and making out, and they didn't even look up at us. They never saw us.
You knowingly had a situation where, how do I say this delicately, you got rid of evidence. Let's put it that way.
I did.
But it wasn't subpoenaed. It was not illegal what you did.
Right. This was before we knew there was an investigation going on. And I was trying to help the president. I was trying to protect him from more scandal and embarrassment. And the steward came up with some towels that had lipstick on them, and then another time with stuff that is, you know,
bodily fluids?
From a male, yes, and thank you. And
I'm trying to help you out here. I'm trying to help my TV audience out here more.
Yeah, I'm trying to keep it PG.
Yeah.
So, so the steward was highly distraught over this, and he complained that it had happened before. So I took a plastic bag and I had him throw the towels in there. And
I think it's a little unfair to leave that for somebody else, don't you?
Yeah, but based on what I've seen before, they don't think about that. They just do whatever they want to do.
Was it common knowledge this president was doing all this? Did you think she knew, Hillary?
I do now. I mean, I can't tell you when I decided that she knew and accepted it, and that was the way it was, and then once in a while she'd blow up over it. But like when the Monica story came out, my feeling at the time was that she wasn't upset about the breach of their marriage. She was upset because he dented the Clinton brand again. He made them look bad again.
Yeah, and so it was more about image again.
That's
But when you've heard those stories of Kathleen Willey, Paula Jones, Juanita Broderick.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you know, after I saw their stories, after I had worked there for a while, I will tell you that my gut feeling is they're all telling the truth. I mean, you can't act like that. I mean, he's been acting like that his whole life. And I do believe, especially Kathleen.
But if everybody, how did he possibly keep it contained? Did he not know that as the president?
He doesn't, and he doesn't seem to care. He just keeps behaving in that odd, it's like a vicious cycle.
All right, we got to take a break. We'll come back. We'll have more of former Secret Service officer Gary Byrne and his explosive new book. And later on, we'll